After the UFC begrudgingly settled for Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill to headline UFC 300, many people, including myself, have been wondering what happened to Dricus du Plessis versus Israel Adesanya. And I did several videos speculating that Israel Adesanya was not actually prepared to return to UFC 300, and they were trying to hide the fact, him and his team, that he and his coach Eugene Bareman did not get over the humiliation that Sean Strickland put them through at UFC 293. Well, according to Eugene Bareman, who did this interview with the MAC Life 10 days ago, and I don't rate the MAC Life at all when it comes to covering the sport objectively, but nonetheless they do get a lot of big interviews. He says that Adesanya did want to come back at UFC 300, and he also, very strategically in my opinion, criticised indirectly Dricus du Plessis and his team for apparently not accepting the fight. Again, he doesn't say in this interview that du Plessis turned down the fight, but he was sure to hype himself and most of all hype his man Adesanya up, saying, well, you've got to stay ready, you answer the call, we want to be the company men, we want to do what's right by the UFC, you do that, you get rewarded, etc. Again, sending out subtle jabs to Dricus du Plessis. Then you've got Dan Hooker here talking about how Dricus du Plessis did turn down the fight against Adesanya, and while he says I can't blame him for doing that because of the turnaround, etc., he's trying to come across as understanding. I don't think Dan Hooker really means that. I think he's intending to send out jabs to Dricus du Plessis. Let's not forget what this guy said about Islam Makhachev last year, calling him a cheating you-know-what, and when it was suddenly proven that Islam Makhachev did nothing and USADA said he didn't break any rules, etc., Dan Hooker didn't even apologise. So I don't think he's being so PC here. I think he knows that the words turning down fight is PR poison for a lot of fighters, so he's using those words to again send out subtle jabs to Dricus du Plessis. And just to comment on that, many casual fans who are young, and I used to be one of those casual fans as well when I was in my teens, as soon as they hear the word so-and-so turned down a fight, they don't even think about why they turned it down. They immediately make judgments in their head and label that fighter as a diva and a coward. This is how Dana White was able to control the narrative for so many years and make fighters really dance to his tune as soon as he would open his mouth. So yeah, I think Dan Hooker was, again, trying to send out subtle jabs there, as Eugene Bareman, in my opinion, was. And then you've got Israel Adesanya saying that he was prepared to fight at UFC 300, but du Plessis didn't want it. Now, I wrote a comment on Facebook, I use a Facebook page called Fight Sport Talk. You guys can follow me there. I said that Adesanya is no longer the champion, so he can no longer expect fighters to dance to his tune. And that comment has got a lot of pushback. A lot of people are disliking it because they think I'm acting like a hater, even though I am just stating facts. Israel Adesanya has only made a 3-month turnaround once in his career since becoming UFC champion, and that was against Marvin Vettori after he lost to Jan Blachowicz. And he was able to make that turnaround partly because he took no serious damage against Jan Blachowicz because Israel Adesanya wasn't prepared to engage. He was well behind in the fight and he chose not to fight. It was actually similar to the Sean Strickland fight. He preferred to go quietly into the night rather than risk it all. Be a lion, as he says, or a dog. And Adesanya hasn't made that kind of turnaround at any other point in his career since becoming champion. Dricus du Plessis fought in January. He would be making a 3-month turnaround if he were to fight at 300, and he took a lot more damage against Dricus du Plessis than Adesanya did in any of his title fights, aside from the loss to Pereira and, of course, the fight against Kelvin Gastelum. So Dricus du Plessis should take time off. And Eugene Bareman and Israel Adesanya, I was wrong about them not being ready to return. Turns out that they were, but they cannot expect fighters to dance to their tune anymore. I mean, the mere fact that Eugene Bareman was trying to cherry-pick fighters on certain dates and say that, well, they have to make this kind of turnaround, otherwise they've thrown away their UFC title shot for good, is absolutely ridiculous. They were expecting Dricus du Plessis to make a 2-month turnaround after fighting Robert Whittaker, and again, that's another thing I included in my Facebook comment, because some people think that Dricus du Plessis is trying to cherry-pick, and I said, What kind of fighter is trying to cherry pick if they fight Robert Whittaker as a contender? That's ridiculous. Adesanya and his team expected Du Plessis to make a 2 month turnaround after defeating Robert Whittaker. They expected Robert Whittaker to make a 2 month turnaround after defeating Calvin Gastelum, re-earning the title shot he had already earned, and that just ended up postponing the fight for over almost a year, and Eugene Berman that entire time was still trying to get out of the fight, saying that Robert Whittaker didn't earn it. So this is just ridiculous coming out of Adesanya's team. Maybe they're just trying to play mind games, but I don't think it's going to work at all. We'll wait and see what happens. I'm very much looking forward to this fight, even though Israel Adesanya doesn't deserve it. Let me know what you guys think down below about Adesanya's comments as well as his teams, and what you think about this fight happening in the future. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more.